setting up for YouTube Live. It is loading, done, redirecting to YouTube. Okay, we can start the webinar now. We have no one. Hello, hello. We are waiting just for a couple of minutes until everyone joins. In the meantime, and while we can do a little bit of small talk, while everyone set up their audio and all of that. I don't know, Milos, is Serbia in the World Cup or not?
Unfortunately, not this year. But
Oh man,
yeah,
do you have a favorite team for this year?
Uruguay, of course.
Well, you can root for
Of
Uruguay.
course, yeah.
That's a good one. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Let's just wait for a couple of minutes. I'm loving that you are the one rooting for Uruguay, Milos, and I have zero idea when they play. So
You just know that they are in the World Cup, but
yes, yeah, no,
not
well,
much more than that.
I heard about it like probably 1 month ago. So
Do you even know who's playing today?
no, I had zero idea who is playing today. I just
Okay.
know that the ceremonial whatever is happening in a few minutes. So
Yes,
yeah,
that's exactly how they call it, actually, the ceremonial
the
whatever.
ceremonial whatever. Yes,
Yeah.
I assume that that's the case. Okay, we can get started. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining and welcome to the GEO Reset. I'm Felipe Pose. I'm the director at the ROI Loop. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, Google really published something that broke how the SEO and the GEO industry was working, or at least a few of the agencies. So over the next 60 minutes, what we are going to do is walk you through what actually works, what just got named as a misconception, and while the presentation goes off the screen, we are also be showing you what you can ship this Monday, because no one wants to ship any important things on Fridays. So if you came here expecting a debate over SEO is dead, or do we have anything, do we still pay for organic search services, or do we still invest time in this? You came to the wrong webinar, because what we are going to be showing you is how to operate SEO and AI search on one system. So yeah, quick note before we move to the next slide. At the end of the session, we will be sending you an ebook that is actually like 30 something pages deep. So it goes on really detail into everything that we are going to be discussing today. So no worries, you don't have to take notes. I mean, you can if you want, feel free to. But we will go through the framework, the platform tactics, the things that are not working today, what got renamed, and all of that. So the document will be received after the webinar. Marce, next one. Okay, three voices. I already introduced myself. We have also Milos Mudric. Milos is the one leading SEO and technical, technical SEO at Tavano Team and the ROI Loop. He's been in the trenches for many, many years in the SEO field now. So I'm guessing this is probably even a boring topic for him. Speaking once again about the death of SEO. We have been over this for I don't know how many years so far.
At least
So
15
welcome,
years.
Milos.
Thank you.
And then we have Marcelo Tisoni. He's the director of Dolphia. Dolphia, of course, is our AI adoption consultancy firm. He joins today, and of course, we are speaking about that AI topic. So he joins to bring this AI native perspective. He will also be closing the session with a final view and so on. So yeah, my main role today is basically to translate the technical depth into the decisions you can make. Next one, Marce. Okay, really quick over this. First, we are going to be going through the click drought. This is what the data is telling us what is actually happening in search in 2026. Then we are going to be going through the actual Google May 15 reset. So what they actually said, what was published, how this affects things. Then we have the visibility loop. We are going just to go through our framework, how you can operate it as a system. Then on the part 4, the economics and the 30 to 60 to 90-day plan. And finally, just failure modes, a Q&A in case you do have any questions. So yeah, you can drop those during the webinar as well. Okay, and now we can get started. If you want to hold one line for the webinar, probably for the at least next 5 minutes, is that ranking still matters. They just stopped being the only thing that matters. This is probably the main thing that we want you to get from this presentation. We have here 3 numbers that should really change your mind, not only your budget. 48%, that is the percentage of Google searches in March 2026 that displayed an AI answer at the top of the page. The previous data point that we had was in December 2025, and in that period, it was actually 34%. So in 3 months, that jumped almost 14 points, which is a lot. That's not a trend line, it's really acceleration and how Google is investing into this. 1 billion users, that is the number that was confirmed by Google as being the monthly active users on Google AI mode. Just to put you into perspective, and this is something that I actually wrote, 1 billion users is roughly the user base of WhatsApp, or it's 3 times the user base of ChatGPT. So that is just to put you into perspective. And 4.4 times, that is the difference in conversion rate between a user that is landing through AI refer, like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, whatever, versus a classic organic user. Next one, Marce. And here is probably the data point that is scaring most people. And it shouldn't, by the way, but it's something that we also want you to get. For years, really, the rule of thumb was that if you ranked in the top 10, you were eligible for everything. You have the feature snippets, the people also ask, the knowledge panels. And then when AI Overview launched, that killed the case. So, for example, in 2025, 76% of the AI overview citations came from pages that are already ranked in the top 10 of Google search. But by early 2026, that number fall to 38%. So in 12 months, really the correlation changed a little bit. And we will spend a lot of time today speaking you what to do about it, basically. And before we go to the second part of the webinar, honestly, when we were discussing with Marcelo and Milos on how to introduce you to this topic, we thought it was a really good idea for you to understand as well how LLMs work in terms of how they actually search for a topic. So Marcelo actually prepared something that I think it's really valuable for you to understand how these things really, how you can leverage these things, basically.
Yeah, and let me just explain, Feli, this information that we see here. People might ask, why why it's not that it's always like those top 10 results. that appear also in LLMs, and it's really important to understand the difference between how Google works, for example, versus how an LLM works. And while Google bots crawl websites, they pick up pages, put them in their database, and when you search for certain query, what Google will do, it will pick up all the relevant pages. It will put it in its algorithm that has over 200 ranking factors. It will then score them, and it will provide user a list of pages sorted by the score, and this is how Google works. With LLMs, it's quite different. First, it starts with, in the same way, LLMs will also, crawl the web, pick up information, they will train their model. And then when you use some prompt that is usually a little bit different than search query, it is much wider in how you communicate, because usually, when we communicate with Google, we think that we communicate with a machine, so the search query in Google will be something like life insurance, or life insurance for a snowboarder, for example. While, with prompt, it will be, what is the best life insurance for a 40-year-old without children who does extreme sports and live healthy, and I don't know. So that is the starting difference. And then, if LLM cannot answer, or if it believes that the answer wouldn't be the best one without additional search, it will do an additional search, and then it will, just like with Google, it will do the search, but it will not use like top 3 or top 10 pages that rank there. It will select certain pages among the top ones. And that's why you see the difference here. It's not always the top 10, but also there is addition to that. And this is, LLM will not use the exact prompt that I asked. It will modify it, and it will fan out it to a certain amount of queries. So it will do several additional searches, and this is really important part to understand, because what you want to do is to rank well for those searches that an LLM will do. So that's why SEO is still super important. SEO is still the foundation. Simply because of that reason, SEO is still foundation of how LLMs work. And Marcelo might present that and show us, how it actually works on an example.
I can just go ahead and just run a demo for this. Basically, just to give you an idea of what you will be seeing. You will be seeing sort of like a simulation of what runs in the background. But what I did is I basically asked Claude to explain everything that he's doing in order to get at least a view of what is going on. There are some certain things that are exactly as they happen in the background, but there are some others that even Claude doesn't have the capability of providing to you. And that, in a way, it's sort of logical because not all of the processes are fully explicitly laid out in order not to be gamed. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to go ahead and share it. And I already asked the question because it is basically loading a bit. Basically what I asked is just run a demo for a person that would be just putting in the LLM shoes under $150 for people with knee pain. So number one, is this autobiographical? Am I a 36-year-old man with knee problems that is trying to get in shape? Maybe. I don't know. But let's
I can
go
relate
to the
to that.
example. Yeah. Let's go to the example. So number one is that it's exactly what Milos was saying, right? That query fan out. So even though what I asked is shoes under $150 for people with knee pain, basically the LLM interprets just different intents for that question. It's just a combination of all of the intents. So number one would be shoes for knee pain. Another one would be the best running, walking shoes under $150. And then another one would be shoe features that reduce knee pain. So it breaks it down into smaller searches in order to basically merge all of them at the end. But this is just the beginning of the process, right?
Yeah, let me just jump in. It's very
Yeah.
interesting because it's quite different to what you asked, right? So it is very common to see something like this. For example, best shoes, or in some cases you will often see reviews, or it will even insert Reddit, for example, or 2026 if it needs like information for this year, if it might be, let's say, some event or something like that. So it's very common to see such fan out queries.
So the next thing that happens is that all of those queries, they do a bunch of searches for those queries and they get information back. And what happens afterwards, this step number 3 that it's called chunk and score, this is, I would say, it's the process in which this is the simulation because everything runs in the background and the LLM basically just gets the digested version of all of this. So what happens is that every single term gets searched. Maybe they get 10 results for each. And then what they do is they score it based on a number of different factors. And what happens is that the ones that rank the highest, they get used, and the one that ranks the lowest, they get dropped. So you will see right here that they have scores for relevance and specificity. You have things that are like relevant citations and everything, and then you will see that some of those, because they scored lower in relevance and specificity, they got dropped. So this is like the simulated part because basically the LLM only gets the non-dropped ones and they don't know what it dropped and what didn't. But we're just simulating it so just the process makes sense. Once
And
they
just
get,
to
yeah,
sorry, just to add something, unlike, can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Unlike Google that always, analyzes entire pages, here it will pick up the page, but then it will also select certain pieces of content. And this is one of the differences. And also, something that's, generally speaking, the closer content that you have to the prompt itself, will be more likely to be sourced here. The higher relevance you will have if you use content that is as similar to the prompt. But in order to actually get picked up here, you first need to rank well for fan out queries. So this is the piece that people thinking about LLMs usually miss out because they don't understand how it functions. Sorry for jumping in.
thank you, Milos. No, the whole point is for you to jump in, so no need to apologize about that. So once we get all of the relevant queries that have been approved, if you want to put it that way, then what it happens is that like the response gets assembled for through all of the queries that were accepted, right? So as it says right here, right? If the original question was, what are the best shoes under $150 for people with knee pain, basically me, the winning snippets are the combination of all of the queries that won, which you will see right here that are named just for the examples that were like the dummy examples that were created. And of course, this is not where you're going to be presenting to the customer, right? This needs to be something relevant and something coherent, and it's just written in natural language. So what happens is that the 5th step is which the LLM gets all of those queries that won. They just add all of the context and then they just write it and provide it in a natural language way for the person that is in the other side of the screen. So that process that happens from you asking until you get the response is all of this of what you just saw, and it takes into account every single thing that Milos explained.
So which one are you going to buy, Marce? That's the important part.
So I think I'm getting some Adidas ones.
Okay, that's
But
great.
yeah, I'll let you know how it goes if I need to get a
Yeah.
surgery or not. Please, everyone, stay tuned.
We will keep you posted on that. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think we can go to the second part of the webinar, and this is probably most for you, Milos. Of course, we have the comments and everything that happened on May 15 that I think
Yeah.
it's going to be remembered. Like a lot of things happen on SEO every year, every month, I would say. But this probably will be remembered as one of the most memorable
Yeah,
days for
because
SEO.
this is the first published document by Google when it comes to AI SEO, if you want to call it like that, or GEO or AEO, and basically what happened with this particular document is that they said just do SEO, like pretty much whatever you did for SEO, it works for GEO. And it makes sense. And you can go to the next slide, Marce. What they said is our core ranking system focus on high quality content, and we also try to block spam pretty much. And this is truth. The foundation of everything is the high quality content. Now, of course, there are other things that can help, but also there are other things that were overstatements in the past when it comes to GEO or optimization for AI. And you can go to the next slide. Yeah, basically what they also stated in the document is like there were some practices, let's say, that people were abusing or using that do not help you to actually appear more often in results on AI. And this is LLMs TXT, content chunking, force question form headers, and FAQ schema. Basically, none of those things are necessarily bad. But while LLMs TXT, for example, is something like a sitemap for AI, it is just like sitemap. Sitemap is not going to help you to rank any page better. But sitemap might help you to provide pages to Google faster. So it's not a bad practice. It's just not going to do miracles for you. What people started doing is content chunking. Basically, they thought that let's say if we are talking about a blog post, instead of a blog post, they started every subheading turning into a new page. Every piece of content to separate into its own page, which in some cases might be useful, but it's not a general rule. So it's also something that in a lot of cases actually doesn't make any sense. Then also, people started changing their content that each heading is in the form of questions. That is absolutely not necessary. Of course, you want that every section on your website, every piece of content has definitions, answers, explanations, and so on. But that is enough. It's not necessary to have a question as a heading on your page, right? And then also with FAQ, people are spamming too much with FAQ. Eventually, Google started depreciating it. So with FAQ schema, so now it's not working as people would like, and it's not necessary to spam with those things. Those are all okay practices if you use them correctly, and they will not do miracles. And pretty much this is what people from Google said.
Yeah, I think the third one was probably the most annoying one, and it's probably one that we encounter the most during audits.
Yeah,
Actually, writing everything into a question makes it so
yeah,
frustrating as a user as well.
yeah, it is.
Okay, great. We move on to the visibility loop. So if you want to take something from this, is that treating SEO as the or GEO as the evolution of SEO, or treating this as two separate things. You have to move rankings to citations. You have to replace keywords with entities, or you have to, I don't know, trade backlinks for mentions. That framing is wrong, and it's something that is actually uh, super short-sighted, and has been for the past year. And this is probably where we have been the most vocal about as well during this transition, because there was a lot of uh, surgeons of different GEO tactics, like that were not going to be the ones that moved the needle. And as you saw, like even on the myths that were debunked, those were the things that we as SEO GEO experts were telling the clients, the colleagues, that were not going to be the things that worked in the future. So what actually works, and you will see it in the next slide, is treating this as a system. So this is something that we developed. This is nothing crazy, as is really going back to how digital marketing works and how it's supposed to work, and it's treating things as a loop, as a cycle, and really leverage all the optimization, all the data that digital marketing really provides. So for this, we have 5 stages. Milos will go through the first 3 but just to make it short, in Discover, we have the engines. Of course, they have to find you. So if they don't discover you, nothing is working. Then on Structure, this is how the content is discovered, what makes it extractable. So pages that are easy to pull, those are the ones that usually work the best. Then we have evidence, and this is probably discovery gets you, well, discover and gets you visible. Then you have structure to really get you pulled, and evidence is what gets you trusted. You saw that on the example that Marcelo was telling as well, and was showing. There is a lot of scoring system that the LLMs are doing to really put you in front of a user. So in this sense, the evidence is what really brings the trust to the LLMs. Then we have site. This is, of course, what most people are measuring today. You have from ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, AI overviews. You have from Claude, and then on measure, and this is where the loop closes. It's not, it doesn't close, but at least it's the last step. And it's actually understanding the efforts that you are doing, the impact of those, how you are on citations, how you are on share of voice, and where is it that we have to invest time on the first stage, once again, on the discovery stage. So I think we can go probably deeper into each of those. This is something that I also said. This is not a transition, it is a system. So yeah, SEO and GEO, they work in tandem. We don't have to treat those separately.
Yeah.
If you want to go to Discover, that's you.
Yeah, well, first of all, just like with SEO, it's really important to make those LLMs see your content. And of course, first thing is not to block, the bots that should access your website and that should access the information there. So this is a really important part. They are using different bots than Google is using for SEO and so on. So it's important to have your website crawlable for AI bots. The other thing is also don't rely always on that some pieces of content are visible after rendering. Make everything accessible in the plain HTML. This is really important. It was important for SEO. It is still important, even though some of them can even execute something and see some things, still have it visible in the plain HTML. Also, schema, for example, and things like that are always useful, but they will not, again, do miracles for you because, for example, if you are using schema, this content should also be visible on your page. Schema is always good because all the entities there might have their own attributes and relations between each other, and it's great to provide such an information to bots, but still the main information needs to be as plain content on your website and visible in the HTML. You can go next. As for the structure of your pages, the first and most important part is to have a really useful content. Of course, the top of that content is always the one that values the most. So keep that in mind. But again, just like with example that Marcelo provided, you want to have content that can be sourced by LLM to provide an answer. It's something that people are doing wrong with SEO as well. But I think here it's more evident how you should do things. Is if you have one page that is, for example, selling snowboard boots, that is called Boots, that has no description, and their products are Milos boot, Felipe boot, and Marcelo boot, this is not going to be sourced. If this page is called snowboard boots instead of boots, if it has description where it mentions, I don't know, this type of snowboards and that type of snowboards and free ride, slope style, whatever, like soft boots or hard boots or race boots, and those boots are called Milos free ride boots, Felipe slope style boots, and Marcelo race boots. Now this is going to be picked up potentially for a wide selection of prompts. That's why structure your content and try to write this content just like you would explain this page, whatever this is, might be a category, a product page, a service page. Try to explain it like you are explaining it to children or to your grandma. Cover as much as you can, and start with the basics, because you're not explaining things only to your customer who knows a lot about it, but you are also explaining to the machine, to an LLM. And as I said, provide direct answers in the top of your content, structure it with proper headings and so on. If you can, always use schema, because it can, as I said, provide relations and attributes and so on. And then also have real FAQs. This can actually be very useful, because if you think about what your customers are asking, most often put that on your page. Tables and lists are also very useful. But I would also say one more thing here, and this is, you can have comparisons. You can have a lot of those things that people would actually ask for. And if you are a manufacturer that sells your product, this information might not even be on your website, but you need to have it somewhere, on other websites and so on. But if you are not a manufacturer, if you are just reselling this, then this kind of information would be most useful if this is somehow on your website. It doesn't need to be on a product page, on a category page. It can be on your blog, but it needs to be on your website. Next. Then, as for the evidence, again, when it comes to your content, it is really important to have original content, original data. Whenever you can prove something with data, with sources, with let's say some kind of experiments and so on, it is great because it builds trust. But also, when it comes to content, you need to provide a little bit more. You need new insights, something new, because you need to provide a reason for those models when they do their new learning cycle to select you for some reason. Just like with SEO, duplicated content is often neglected, so keep that in mind as well. Authorship, if anyhow possible, have the authors on your content, just so that you can build these EEAT signals, which is expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And then also, the more that you are mentioned on other websites, the more signals you get simply that your website is valuable, that your business is valuable, and that might help you also to be sourced more. Next one.
Do you want me to go to
Yeah, you
this
can,
one?
if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is, of course, something that the platforms are not telling you directly, and they are not being transparent. But we as the SEO team, we did run a few experiments on understanding a little bit of how each LLM is extracting the information. So of course, they are not using the same. They are not favoring the same things, and the scoring system is a little bit different. So, for example, ChatGPT, it really favors the strong entity signals, the freshness of the content, really authoritative sources in that sense. So yeah, ChatGPT makes the most common source that you're going to be cited, because I think this is probably one of the one that values freshness the most. And then we have Perplexity. This is the most citation transparent surface. It cites visibly, so it links all of the sources, and is more willing than ChatGPT to really tell you all of the thought process and the sources that it is using. Question format headings actually do work here, by the way. And this is something that is interesting from the myth that we got from Google. Of course, Google was speaking about themselves and not other LLMs. Then we have the Google AI overviews, solid SEO foundations, and basically everything that Milos has been speaking. These are the things that are going to be winning for you on Google AI overviews. Then we have Gemini. Gemini 3.5 is the one that actually got used and chosen as the default mode for AI mode globally, and that was on May. So it really runs on the same model that Google AI overviews are running. And then we have Claude, and this is probably my favorite, who really favors thoughtful, well-structured process that has really verifiable sourcing. So it is much less usual, I would say, that Claude hallucinates with an answer, for example, that the other LLMs. On next one, Marce. Yeah, we have how you should be measuring basically, and this is probably something that could be translated to any type of digital marketing strategy, because we have, of course, like monthly outcomes that we need to understand the direction. Then on the quarterly leading indicators, we really try to pick up on the things that are working or not, and then it's in the third tier that we are doing the diagnostic. So for each tier, we have in the first one, citation share by platform. This is of all AI answers in your category. What is the percentage citing you? Then we have the share of voice. So this is from all answers again, where percentage are mentioning your brand at all. Then we have, of course, the classical rankings. These are still important. And the referral conversions. And this is something super interesting as well, because Google is making some changes on GA4. They haven't rolled out this for everyone yet, but they are including as part of the default session source medium AI AI channel that basically, puts you with Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, and all of that. So it's actually it will be actually much easier to see the AI performance in a few weeks. Then we have why this is happening. The AI crawl hits. So our GPT bot, Claude bot, the Perplexity bot, all of the bots actually visiting your site, and you can check this on the server logs. Is something that again, it's important to understand if the LLMs are actually going to your site. Then the entity resolution health. So when ChatGPT, when Perplexity, when Gemini, when Claude, they are citing you and they are describing your brand, is it actually consistent to how you would describe your brand? And this is something that as well is, I think, super important. And then we have the trust signal recommendation. This is probably mostly on the backlink side of things, like the new third-party citations and the credible mentions that you are getting. On the how to fix it, honestly, this is dependent on on each case, because really it depends on the first two tiers, those recommendations. I would say like AI search measurement today is not perfect yet. We have had the luck with Milos to try a lot of the tools that are used, widely used for understanding your AI share of voice, your AI citations, your AI, basically your AI performance. And even those differ from one tool to the other, and sometimes they differ a lot. So I would say probably having this added in Google Analytics is going to be something that is going to make a difference. Next one, Marce. Okay, great. And this is something as well that I think it's super important to understand, because sometimes the cost of doing nothing is nothing, basically. But in this case, it's actually not free, in the sense that the market is migrating more slowly, more quickly than we thought. That really depends on who you ask. But the market is migrating to a more AI-mediated discovery. So actually paying attention to this, it's something that at the long term will pay off, because it's not like things will stay as they are right now for a lot of time. Yes, Milos, do you want to take this one?
I mean, just like you said, well, investing in this is kind of a necessary thing, you know, not investing money, investing time, investing some effort into improving it and into tracking it, actually, to see what is going on and so on. But over investing too early also it would be a problem, because with majority of our clients, we don't see much direct revenue and so on, you know, from LLMs. So the problem is that it is at this point yet. It is difficult to see ROI, actually, if you invest everything into let's say optimization for LLMs, and then you just wait to see results there, you know. Even though probably if you do things correctly there, you would see improvement on organic side and so on SEO. But if you measure only this, it would be a problem, let's say. So it's not SEO versus GEO. It is current discovery system, you know, versus future discovery system. Because at some point, I'm pretty sure that you know, we will stop having general SEO. We will stop having people going to Google to search and to get top 10 pages, right? But what will still exist is this part of behavior as a part of system of LLM retrieval of information and providing information to you. So the SEO will still be important, even though people will not use Google in such a way. So that is something that is really important to understand, and why people will have to treat SEO still, even if nothing else than just as part of their SEO GEO campaign.
Awesome. Thank you, Milos. Yeah, I think this is something as well, is more of an eye opener or a food for thought, I would say. And it's a question that we wanted you to keep thinking. So in 12 months, what percentage of your categories buying search will happen inside a generative engine? Uh, Whatever number you believe, this is the size of the gap that we have to close. And it's something really to think of, because things are moving really fast. As we said in the beginning, the numbers are speaking for themselves. So really starting on this journey of optimizing your SEO, your GEO, should be something to really take into consideration soon. Marce, I think this one, yeah, this is probably the thing that we have most time to dedicate, and it's for you, Milos, and it's for people that don't really know where to start. Actually, making this in a 30 to 60 to 90-day plan, this is something that will be helpful for them.
Yeah, I mean, like everything, you need to start with audit, and prioritization. So when it comes to audit, two major things are, of course, to see if those LLMs are able to access your content. That is one thing. The other thing is you can test what it knows about your business. You can test it with different LLMs and see what might be missing. As part of the audit, you can also do the same thing with your competitors. And then you can identify gaps and see, where you perform well versus where you not perform well. And this might actually give you a clear view of what you need to improve. You should also start measuring things from the first month to see if you and how you will see improvements. Now, when you start doing things, don't expect immediate results. Just like with SEO, even more, maybe because those models have their own learning cycles, and they in a lot of cases you will need to wait before you actually see some impact. And even if you let's say if it sources you, let's say ChatGPT or whichever model, it might use the cached version of your page that it picked up at some point. So whatever change you do, it will not be immediately visible. That's something that you need to understand, but you should start tracking it now so that you can compare it. Then, as the next step, of course, you need to rework on your priority pages, to fill in the gaps, to improve the content on pages that need it. And if anyhow possible, you should work on your schema. When you talk about schema, think about that you don't need to have schema on your page. But if you have it, think about what kind of schema, what you have inside of that schema. So if you're having it, then use it smart. That's the main point. And when you use it smart, just piece of code will not help you. What is inside of that code is what might help you. So that is something that is important when we talk about schema. And then, of course, try to build your EEAT signals. So the authoritativeness, trustworthiness, try to improve your content, try to build your author persona if you have blog, things like that. And then as the next step, start thinking also about how you can get more mentions, or how to use your PR strategy to actually be mentioned, not just to be mentioned, but also to be mentioned for what is really important for you. You know, try to do PR with, you know, your main objectives in your mind when it comes to GEO and SEO as well. And then, you know, once you finished with your primary priorities, you can focus on the rest of your website, on the secondary priorities and so on. And then you can do the cycle over again, basically.
Milos, before we move on, because you
Mhm.
said something super controversial, this could even be a clip, you know, those clips from Instagram that you see
Yeah.
that you are like, oh my God. But you did say that schema is not necessary. But we have heard about schema for probably, I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
2 years now.
Well, people will often, you know, think about like LLMs need schema to be able to understand your content, right? They will kind of understand your content if it's written, you know, in the plain HTML. The piece of code of schema that you have, if it's pretty much empty, if you don't have anything inside of your schema, like if it's very basic, it will not do things for you. So use schema in a smart way to actually get some benefits from it. That's the main point. You know, the piece of code doesn't help if in that piece of code is not information that you want. You know, and when it comes to that, you know, use your organization schema. Try to add locations there if this is important for you. You know, try to add all kinds of attributes for your products. The colors, the sizes, this and that, you know, variations, MPN, you know, so try to have a rich schema, you know, don't you know, it's like you can have a schema that kind of works, but it doesn't have any information on it. So you know, use schema in a smart way. This is always a good thing, but you know, it's not enough to just have schema that is pretty basic and empty. You know, so that's the main point here. But
That's
it was
really
a
good, Milos.
good question. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I wanted to clip you and upload you to Instagram. That's why I asked.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can go with this one.
Yeah. Of course. You know, just you know, biggest failures that you can have is first of all to block LLMs from accessing your website. You know, just if you would block Google bots from accessing your website, you would simply be invisible to Google. You know, that's the same thing. You don't want to
And I would
be
say,
invisible.
surprisingly, this is something that we have encountered in the past, by the way.
It
So
happens. You know, people block everything with robots.txt by accident, or they have no index tag, for example, on all the pages of the website, you know, and they index the
yeah,
entire website. So it happens. Yeah, absolutely. Optimizing for one platform is also not the greatest idea. ChatGPT is absolutely dominating right now, but that doesn't mean that your customers are necessarily on ChatGPT. You know, I don't know if you are. I don't know if your customers would be developers, for example. Probably they will be on Claude. So and so on. So also, you know, we don't know if once Google switches from default Google search to AI mode, if this is suddenly going to be used more than ChatGPT, from the example. So you need to take care of all of those. Relocating SEO budget too early is also a bad idea, especially because SEO and GEO is kind of working together. So by thinking only about GEO or by thinking only about SEO is not a good idea at all. You need to think about both things. Luckily, they work complementary, let's say. And I would say GEO is just an SEO plus, basically. So the thing is, if you say, I don't want to invest in SEO, I just invest in GEO. And then if you look at ROI from that, you will not be able to see it. And then it might also provide not so good conclusions, pretty much. Then publishing unextractable content that is also, generally speaking, create good content. That is the best thing that you can do for SEO, for GEO, for marketing at all. It's something that is super important. As we already said, treat your PR strategies with SEO and GEO in mind. And don't just measure once and then stop, because you need to trust the process. You need to do the good practices and to trust the process and to measure things on a yearly level, because as I said, there are also those learning cycles that basically you will not see immediate results, whatever you do. And then also chasing myths. If you start chasing myths, you will simply spend too much effort and time into shortcuts that do not exist. And you will just go around yourself and you will stay in the same place and just follow the best known practices. And those also myths can sometimes be some practices that are often not treated right now, but at some point might be treated as black hat tactics, and you don't want to be on that side of penalization, let's say, when it happens by Google or by an LLM or something like that.
That's great, Milos. Thank you for
It
that.
seems to me from like a non-expert perspective that in some areas the advices are just as you would do with just everything in life. Like don't fall for the hype. Like the
Yeah.
new best post that says X is dead and now Y is my new best friend. Just wait a bit until the dust settles and then just
Yeah.
confirm that it's real and then go for it. Instead of just as you're saying, right?
Unfortunately, SEO industry was known as a hack industry in its beginnings. You could spam your way to the top, and we as SEOs, we kind of make people used to something like that, and they all expect some. I always compare it to weight loss, for example. Everyone wants some crazy hack that does things in 2 weeks, and no one wants to eat healthy and train and be active and so on. So and it's quite SEO in general isn't that difficult. What's difficult is to fight against your competitors. The known practices are there. It's just how do you win? The basketball is also pretty easy to understand. It's just not easy to win against LeBron James. So that's the hard part. But that's why everyone wants some kind of hack, that will make them bigger and stronger, and but it's not that easy, and it doesn't exist actually.
You can have bad knees as Marcelo and myself as well, Milos.
Yeah, I haven't touched a rim in like 10 years, but let's just carry on.
I can see myself winning against LeBron James.
Absolutely.
No, you cannot.
No,
hope we
I
don't have
am
any.
conscious of time, and we did have a few other slides to go through. But yeah, for myself, I think the point is super clear. And of course, we can revisit. We will be sending you guys the ebook with everything that we went through today, the things that we didn't went through today as well. If you love reading, that's great because it's like a 30-page deliverable. If you don't love reading, you can also have a meeting with Milos, with myself, with Marcelo, and yeah, we can go through any questions that you might have. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. I think I myself did learn a few things, so we hope you did as well. And yeah, we will be seeing you in the next one. Stay tuned because we do have a few other AI related webinars that will be coming super soon with Marcelo. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Hope we didn't make you miss the World Cup inauguration, whatever, something that was today. So yeah, we will see you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye bye.